Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about solving systems by substitution. So earlier this week we looked at systems of equations. So remember that's two or more equations, and we looked at how to see whether an ordered pair is a solution. So remember, to be a solution to a system, if I plug in an ordered pair or a point into both my equations, it has to make it true. And then we also looked at solving systems by graphing. So we graphed both equations, and where they intersected or where they crossed was our solution. So today we're going to be learning a different method to solving it, and that's by substitution. And it's called substitution because we're going to be substituting one equation into the other. So let's go ahead and get started. Sorry, I got hiccups there first. Right. So number equations. So I have 2x plus 8y equals 20. And I also have y equals 2. So for substitution, we need one equation solved for one of the variables. And in this case, we have that, right? Because we have this y equals 2 here. So since one of my variables is by itself, that's the one I'm going to be substituting in the other equation. So since I know y is 2, I'm going to plug y in for 2 into this first equation. So I'm going to copy and paste this first equation. So 2x plus 8. But instead of writing y, I know that y is 2. I'm just going to replace that y with 2 equals 20. And now I'm going to solve. So 8 times 2 is 16. So I have 2x plus 16 equals 20. Subtract 16 from both sides because I'm solving this equation. So I get 2x equals 20 minus 16 is 4. 2 times x equals 4. Undo multiplication, I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides, and I get x equals 2. So now I have this solved. And remember, for a system, my solution is always going to be an ordered pair. So I always need it in this ordered pair format, so x comma y. So I know that x is 2, y is also 2. So here is my solution. Now it's the same thing for number 2, so they kind of helped us out here. So I know that x equals 5, right? So I have one of my equations solved for one of my variables or one of my letters. So I'm just going to substitute it into the other equation. So instead of writing x in this bottom equation, I know it's 5. So I'm just going to replace it with 5. So I have 2. Instead of x, I'm going to say 5, because I know that x is the same as 5, right? Because they're equal. Plus my y equals 10. All right. So now 2 times 5 is 10. So 10 plus y equals 10. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides to get y by itself. And I get y equals 10 minus 10 is 0. So now I know what x equals, and I know what y equals. So I'm just going to write it as my ordered pair. So the first number is x, which is 5. Second number is y, which is 0. All right. So now, when I'm looking at number 3, it's looking a little different here, right? So first I have to look for to make sure that one of my equations is solved for one of my variables. And I do have this, y equals 2x. Well, I'm going to do the same thing here. So instead of writing y in this first equation, I'm going to replace it with 2x. So I'll have 5x minus 2. Instead of y, I know that y is the same as 2x. So I'm going to replace it with 2x equals this 3 still. And now I'm just going to solve this because now I only have one variable, so I can solve this equation here for x. So I have 5x, 2 times 2x is 4x, so minus 4x equals 3. 5x minus 4x, I can combine these because they both have an x. 5 minus 4 is 1, so I'll just have x equals 3. So I know what x equals, so I can go ahead and put that in my solution for that first number. But I don't know what y is yet, because up here it gave me explicitly what one of the variables was, but here I just know that y equals 2x. So I'm going to plug this 3 back in the original equation. So I'll have y equals 2, but now I know that x is 3. So I'm just going to put 3 into this guy, and I get y equals 6. So now I'm good because I have y, and I have x. All right. So now let's look at number 4 here. So I know that x equals 3y. So I already see that one of them is solved for the other. So instead of x in this first equation, I would put 3y. So I'll have 2y plus, instead of x, I know that x is the same as 3y. So I'm just going to replace with 3y equals negative 15. And now I'm going to solve. So 2y plus 3y, I have 5y equals negative 15. I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides to get y by itself. And I get y equals negative 3. Okay, so I'm good there. So I know what y equals. So that's going to be the second number in this ordered pair. Now I just have to know what x equals. So I'm going to use that original equation that I substituted in. And I know that x equals 3y. But I also know from what I just solved that y is negative 3. So I'm going to say 3 times negative 3, which equals negative 9. So that's what I'm going to put here. Right? So now let's look at my next one. Alright, so again, they already started this for us. So I know that y equals x plus 9. So one of my equations is already solved, right? One of my equations is already solved for one of my variables. So instead of y here, I'm going to replace it with x plus 9. But I'm going to put this x plus 9 in parentheses. So I'll have 4x plus 7. But instead of y here, y is the same as, because it's equal to, x plus 9. So I'm going to substitute that. Equals 19. And now I'm just going to solve. So remember, to solve an equation, my first step is distribution. So I'm going to distribute the 7, everything inside the parentheses. So I have 4x plus 7 times x is 7x. 7 times 9, 63 equals 19. Now I'm going to combine like terms. So 4x plus 7x equals 11x plus 63 equals 19. I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to solve. So I'm going to subtract 63 from both sides. All right, so now I have 19 minus 63, and that gives me negative 44, right? Because they're different signs, so I subtract. 63 minus 19 is 44. Keep the sign a larger number. 63 is larger, so I'm going to say negative. My 11x is going to stay here. Divide by 11. And I get x equals 44 divided by 11 is 4. For different signs, so it'll be negative. So I know my x value is negative 4. And now I just have to find y. So here's my equation that I originally used, the one that's solved for the other. And I know that y equals x, which is negative 4, which we just found, plus 9. I add these, and I get 5. So that's my y. Let's get one more here, because I know this is a little tricky. So my first step is I have to look for one letter that's by itself, one variable that's by itself, which is right here, right? Because I have this y equals and y is by itself. So I'm going to plug in 6x plus 11 in for y right here. So I have 2 instead of y. I'm replacing it with the 6x plus 11 minus 4x equals 14. And then I'm just going to solve. So 2 times 6x is 12x. So I'm going to distribute first. 2 times 11 is 22. I still have this minus 4x. equals 14. I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 12x negative 4x. So when I combine those, 12 minus 4 gives me 8x plus 22 equals 14. And now I'm going to solve. So I'm going to subtract 22 from both sides. And I get 8x equals 14 minus 22, different signs. So I subtract. 22 minus 14 is 8. 22 is larger. I'm going to keep the sign larger number. So that'll be 8. Now I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides to get x by itself. And I get x equals negative 1. Okay? So now that I know that x is negative 1, I'm going to take it and I replace it back into that original equation that I substituted in. So y equals 6. X we know is negative 1 plus 11. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6 plus 11. Again, is 5. Craziness. So now I'm going to write that as an ordered pair. So my x value is negative 1. So I'm going to say negative 1, comma 5. And that's what I got for that. Alright, let's look at my next one. So I have 2. We're going to do 2 more. So we're skipping 9 and 10. Okay, so we're only doing 7 and 8 now. Alright, so for 7, I'm going to check, do I have one of my equations solved from one of my variables? I do. This one, because I got y by itself. So I'm going to plug this in for y to my other equation. So I have 2x minus 8. Instead of y, I'm replacing it with negative 7 minus x. This equals 6. Now I'm going to solve. So I have 2x, and I'm going to distribute. Negative 8 times negative 7. Same sign, so it'll be positive. 8 times 7 is 56. Negative 8 times negative, I'm going to put my 1 here. 1x. 8 times 1 is 8x. Same signs because I have a negative 8. Negative 1x, so that'll be a positive 8x equals 6. Combine like terms, so 2x plus 8x is 10x plus my 56 still, 6. Now I'm good to go to solve. Now that I distributed and combined, so I'm going to subtract 56 from both sides. And I get 10x equals 6 minus 56, different signs, so I'm going to subtract. 56 minus 6 is 50. Each sign of the bigger number. 56 is bigger. I'm going to say negative. Now I'm going to divide by 10 to get x by itself. I get x equals negative 5. Okay, so now that I know what x is, I'm going to plug that in to my original up here. So I have y equals negative 7 minus x, which is negative 5. Remember, when I'm subtracting a negative, that's the same as adding a positive. So I have y equals negative 7 plus 5. That'll just give me negative 2. So now I'm going to write that as my ordered pair. So x comes first, so that'll be negative 5. Y comes second, so that's negative 2. And we are good to go there. Alright, and then here's my last one, number 8. So I see it's already solved for x. So I'm going to put this number in parentheses. I'm going to replace it in for x into my equation, because it's what x equals. So I have 3. Instead of x, I'm replacing it with 2y minus 1 minus 2y equals negative 3. Now I'm going to distribute. 2 times 3y is 6y. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3 minus 2y still equals negative 3. So I have 6. Now I'm going to combine like terms. So 6y minus 2y. I can combine those because they both have a y. 6 minus 2 is 4y minus 3 equals negative 3. I'm going to add 3 to both sides to solve because that's the opposite of subtracting 3. for y equals 0. So divide by 4. I know that y equals 0. Okay, so now I know that y equals 0. I'm going to plug it back into this original one to find x, because x is equal to 2. But instead of y, we just found that y is 0 minus 1, which equals 2 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is negative 1. So that's what my x equals. So now I'm just going to write an ordered pair. So my x comes first. So here's x. So that's negative 1, comma, my y is 0. We solve systems by substitution. So I know that was a little tricky. So for the assignment, you're just going to try it. Okay, I'm grading for effort. A little bit will, or sorry, yeah, I'm grading for effort. Some of it will be for accuracy, but as long as you're trying, you'll still get some points. Okay, so I will see you guys tomorrow, and we'll be looking at this the next 2 days. So if you're still up confused, okay, we got some more days to kind of figure this out. Okay, so all I want you to do is try the assignment for today. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.